role is just to warm up the microphone. And for my fellow, as I said earlier, for my fellows from Ghana and Nigeria, una welcome. Bon dia, mucho obrigado, bonjour, bienvenue ici. Tanzanie, c'est magnifique pays, so bienvenue. But again, I want you to feel good that you are in Tanzania, a country that has really pioneered some of the key issues that you're partly going to address in the next 3 days that you'll be here, in terms of strengthening the legal frameworks and access to the justice for women in Africa. So you are really in the right hands, and you've heard icons like Mama Mongela, who really chair the Beijing platform, and we have been really part of the Maputo Protocol, and we are a country that has really been there on issues possibly that you be engaged in. With that note, I wish to welcome Professor Mathias to set the ball rolling in terms of telling us what exactly are we here to do. So, Professor, please take the floor.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremony. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to each of you. And it is a great honor for me, on behalf of the African Institute of International Law, to address you this morning. Over the past weeks, it has been a real pleasure for me and my team communicating with everybody, and this was throughout the whole preparatory process. Your responsiveness, your professionalism, your cooperation made our work easier, and it reaffirmed our collective commitment to the critical issues that bring us together here in Arusha. Together at the African Institute of International Law, we are deeply and particularly permit me to welcome Her Excellency Ambassador Irene Kasyanju. Ambassador Kasyanju is one of those prominent Africans who established the African Institute of International Law. She currently is a member of its administrative committee. Her guidance and dedication have shaped the very identity of the African Institute of International Law. Once again, welcome, Your Excellency. Dr. Ines Kajiru is a Deputy Director of Legal Affairs in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the United Republic of Tanzania. We deeply appreciate the government's constant support to the African Institute of International Law and its firm commitment to gender equality and justice. So your presence here is very much significant given the topic of the day. We are very grateful for the United Republic of Tanzania's support. Welcome. Honorable Lady Justice Stella Anukam, representing the African Court on Human and People's Rights. Her presence here underlines the importance of regional judicial leadership in the protection of human rights, generally speaking, and more particularly in the protection of the rights of women on this continent. We have a close relationship with the African Court on Human and People's Rights in the activities that we conduct, and your presence here, Your Lordship, is very much appreciated. Welcome. I have the pleasure also to welcome Ms. Claire Inderkumen, who is representing the ambassador of Switzerland, Her Excellency Ambassador Providoli, who, due to urgent and unavoidable engagement, has not been able to join us this morning. And we take this opportunity to extend our sincere gratitude to the Swiss Federal Department of Foreign Affairs for its strong financial support to this event. Not only for this seminar, but also for the Institute's broader efforts to advance women's rights on the continent of Africa. Thank you very much, and you're most welcome. I recognize also the presence of His Royal Highness Naba Aogea Lebna Raymond Alafia Abilba. I have not yet finished. Bolgatanga Nana of the Bolgatanga traditional area of the Upper East region of Ghana. Later, during the session, you will understand how important is his presence here. When you speak of access to justice for women on the continent, people like traditional leaders, religious leaders, they play a very significant role. That is why of Bishop Dr. Elbariki Mbando, who is with us from Moriah Church. We had invited other traditional leaders who have not been able to join us. We have invited other religious leaders who will hopefully join us during the session, and we will have the pleasure to introduce them once they come. We have representatives of Eswatini, Morocco, Mali, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Madagascar, Cameroon, and Gabon, whose participation, I'm sure, is going to enrich our dialogue and underlines the Pan-African nature of this gathering. To all of you, we are honored by your presence. Now, why this workshop, this seminar matters? The significance of this seminar does not need embellishment. The evidence speaks for itself, because we all of us know what is happening on this continent. And what is it that is happening on this continent? Progressive laws do exist, right? But implementation is inconsistent. What do we see? Legal barriers remain. They remain real, and they remain pervasive. What do we see more? Gender-based violence continues at alarming levels. We also have a situation where paralegals and community-level actors are indispensable, but they are under-supported. Best practice shows that change requires a comprehensive strategy. Now, for all these reasons, this seminar aims not merely to discuss, but to equip, to connect, and to catalyze concrete action. It is on this basis that the selection committee sat to select you so that you come to deal with this matter in order to take concrete action, or to see concrete action done on this continent. Transforming women's access to justice in Africa requires more than laws. Definitely. It requires community. It requires coordination. It requires courage. Here in Arusha this week, we have gathered all these three elements. Let us use this platform to think deeply. We are going to speak honestly.
Thank you, Professor, for your very elaborate speech and guiding us on what to expect and what is on the table. Your statement reminded me of a very important aspect in the country called Burundi during the reintegration process of the an organization called Paripeutu FNL. We spent almost some years trying to define who are members who are supposed to be demobilized. He was saying he has a group of 23 armed ex-combatants, and our vision was that you have 3,000. So we spent some years trying to define exactly what they mean. So Agathon Rwasa was the leader of that group, of that organization, in 2009. Did something that possibly reminded me of what you said, that during the demobilization, inclusion of the women, sometimes ex-combatants, have married, and then when they go where they fight, they also get married. And therefore, the two women deserves to be partly in the package to start new life again. So they needed to have, the seed money that needs them to survive after staying in the bush for a long time. So in the bush they marry, they have kids. Those also needs to be considered in terms of package that is given to beneficiaries. But issues of restorative justice, I'm glad you also touched about inviting some members of the clergy to be part of this. I think I can only anticipate that the level of sharing and in terms of knowledge would be greater because of the inclusion of almost everybody who matters in this process. I wish now to welcome, if you look at your timetable, you will see that we needed now to have a speech from the African, from the rector of the African Institute of International Law, Madam Fasha. Judge Fasha Weguz, and but we have made some rectification that we will now have a speech from Lady Justice Stella, and later we will proceed with the speech from Judge Fasha. So can I take this opportunity now to welcome Lady Justice Stella to give her speech.
Karibu sana. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you, Professor Matthias, for such an inspiring opening remarks and very instructive as well. I thank you also very much for the recognition of the court. As you said, we are critical stakeholders with the Institute, and we shall continue to give our support. As I have been introduced, I'm representing the president of the court, Dr. Modibo Sako, who for some very challenging reasons could not be here with you. Our apology. And I also want to extend to you greetings from the judges of the court, as well as the staff and indeed the whole community of the African Court on Human and People's Rights. Your Excellency, I also want to appreciate seeing you here also at this event, and having heard of the contribution you have made over time to ensure that the Institute is strengthened and performing its mandate. I also join the professor to compliment you. Thank you. And my colleague also on the high table, I appreciate you. It also gladdens my heart to see the makeup in the room. I can see men, I can see women, I can see people from different nations. Indeed, already you allow me to just, to think ahead in advance that surely it will be a successful seminar. So congratulations in advance for your participation here. And it's my hope as well that you make your useful contribution and the communique will be written and shared. And my hope is that whatever you come out with will be implemented by our state parties. So on behalf of the African Court, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, representatives of the African Union organs that are here, representatives of the non-governmental organizations, lawyers that are here, law professors and other legal professionals, I say a very good morning to you. And Karibu Sana, welcome to Arusha. Dear participants, on behalf of the African Court on Human and People's Rights, and on my behalf, let me start by thanking the organizers of this seminar for honoring us with their invitation, and to also congratulate you for organizing such an international seminar with a very interesting topic, the kind that is so relevant today. It's a contemporary issue, and we appreciate you for the selection of the theme. The theme of the conference is strengthening legal framework and access to justice for women across the African continent. It reminds us of the perennial issue of women's rights on the continent. It is an open secret that women are the group most affected by human rights violations, despite the efforts made by various actors at national level, regional and international levels. Women continue to experience all forms of violations, such as discrimination, sexual or gender-based violence, difficulties in accessing land, forced and early marriages. It is countless. The African Court on her path is one of the main organs of the African Union, along with the African Commission on Human and People's Rights and the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and the Welfare of the Child. Together, make up the African human rights system. The Court's mandate is to protect human rights on the basis of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, an instrument ratified by the Africans by now almost all the state parties in the Union, except for Morocco. However, in specific case of women's rights, I would like to emphasize here that the primary role of the Court, unlike certain similar instruments, the fundamental instrument protecting women's rights, namely the Maputo Protocol, does not create a specific body responsible for ensuring its implementation. That is one of the defects of that protocol. This role is assigned to the courts by the said protocol, which states in Article 27, the African Court on Human and People's Rights shall be seized with matters of interpretation arising from the application or implementation of this protocol. So it's our responsibility as the court to continue to interpret matters, applications arising on the implementation of the Maputo Protocol. Despite the existence of this important mechanism, amongst others, two observations can be made. First, few women play an active role in the courtroom. You ask yourself, how many female applicants have appeared before the court? Very few. Not only in contentious matters, particularly with regard to the filing of applications. Applications to intervene or the filing of amicus curiae briefs, but also regarding advisory matters although the court has established a system whereby women can receive legal assistance in this regard. You know, in the court we have a scheme, a legal aid scheme, and we are encouraging women to take advantage of that scheme. Because most time the excuse we receive is that the women, they do not have money to hire lawyers or to get legal representation. So that opportunity is available in the court. And we shall always give preference to female applicants who ask for such support. Secondly, the court has, since its establishment, received hundreds of applications concerning various forms of human rights violations, few of which relate to women's rights. Nevertheless, in his jurisprudence, the court had the opportunity to deliver a historic decision and opinion in 2 cases concerning women. The first application is application number 046/2016. I'm sure some of us are acquainted with that decision. And the title, or it is cited as APDF and IHRODA versus the Republic of Mali. And the second issue, the second is an opinion, a request for advisory opinion. And the citation is 001/2018, submitted by the Pan-African Lawyers Union, PALU, to also consider issues that concerns women. In its decision, the court reaffirmed women's rights in Africa with regard to equality, emphasizing the minimum age for marriage. That is the Mali case, the first I cited, and the right to consent to marriage. And in the advisory opinion, the court stressed the obligation of state parties to amend or repeal their laws and regulations on vagrancy, and thus align them with the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, the Protocol of the Charter on the Rights of Women in Africa, that is the Maputo Protocol, and the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. For details on the advisory opinion and the judgment that I have just referred to, I will advise that you link up with our website. You can easily get the details on the website. And I urge you to take your time to read the judgment of the court for a better understanding. The court has also ruled secondarily on violations of fundamental rights concerning women, notably in the case of the Center for Human Rights and others versus the United Republic of Tanzania, which deals with certain aspects of women's rights as protected by the Charter, thus demonstrating the key role it can play in enhancing the protection of women's rights in Africa. This decision was given, I think, early this year. It's on the Albino case. We had cause to also address the women's rights in that particular decision. You can also access this judgment on our website. These observations hamper the court's ability to remedy injustices against women and compromise the enforcement of their rights across the continent. Ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, dear delegates, in its effort to promote and protect women's rights, the court does not only play its primary role of issuing judgment. In addition, we often organize or participate in awareness raising and training seminars like we are here today. On the 4th of February 2025, alongside its 76th ordinary session, the court hosted as a side event a hybrid seminar on women with the theme Justice for Women Through Reparations. I don't know how many of us were there or linked up with us during that seminar. How many? None? Okay, I can see some hands there. This theme was in line with that of the African Union for the year 2025. Namely, the theme for the year is Justice for Africans and People of African Descent Through Reparation. So this time we isolated women and we organized a seminar on justice for women through reparation as part of the theme for the Union, which is Justice for Africans and People of African Descent Through Reparation. The main objective of that seminar was to enable the court to contribute to the debate on restorative justice as a means of promoting human rights in Africa, the rule of law, peace, security, and development across the continent. The court also, on various occasions, presents its work on the protection of women's and girls' rights. For example, the court took part in the workshop organized by GIZ on strengthening strategic litigation relating to women's and girls' rights in the African human rights system. This took place on the 30th of September in Arusha, Tanzania. The main objective of that workshop was to serve as a platform for AU human rights bodies and key partners specializing in strategic litigation relating to women and girls' rights, in order to exchange and explore opportunities for collaboration and action, and thus enhance the protection of these rights. Dear delegates, ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, despite the efforts made by various actors, a number of problems still persist. And the professor alluded to that earlier in his opening remark, especially in the area of implementation. Indeed, the African public in general and women in particular are, by and large, still unaware of the procedures for bringing cases before the court. Therefore, the seminar that you are organizing will provide us with a valuable opportunity to collectively reflect on strategies and methods to remedy the situation. That is a clarion call from the court to you. The African Institute of International Law, which brings together eminent academics, well-known former judges, high-level international civil servants, former ambassadors, has become, in the few years of its existence, an important player in African civil society. And the court welcomes the collaboration that binds us together. The organization of this seminar is further proof of your commitment to the promotion and protection of human rights on the continent. It is our duty, therefore, to work with other stakeholders to mobilize the civil society, which also includes women associations and women's rights experts, and I can see this morning traditional rulers, in order to collectively identify strategies and mechanisms that will give women easier access to justice at the national level, regional level, and international levels. Rest assured, dear delegates and organizers, that the court is fully available so that together we can combine our efforts to improve women's access to justice and protection of their rights, which will also enable the court to fulfill its mandate as the principal custodian of human rights across the continent. On this note, I wish you a fruitful deliberation and 100% plus success in your work during this period you are here for this purpose. And I thank you for your attention. Merci beaucoup, obrigado, asante sana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lady Justice Stella Onkam, for a wonderful speech. It is now an opportunity to hear a welcoming address from Judge Fatsa Weguz, who is the rector of the African Institute of International Law, but also a former vice president of the African Court on Human and People's Rights. Her speech will be read on her behalf. His speech will be read on his behalf by Professor Matthias, who is the program director of the African Institute of International Law. So, Professor Matthias, please take the floor.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony. The Honorable Judge Fatsa Weguz has not been able to join us today due to a last-minute emergency. He couldn't make it, and he requested that I read his speech to you, but also that we distribute it so that you keep it and read it on your own when you have time. And the speech goes as follows. Your Excellencies, Honorable Justices, distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, bonjour, jambo, assalamu alaikum. On behalf of the African Institute of International Law, it is my privilege to extend a warm welcome to you all. The African Institute of International Law was established with a clear mandate to be a continental hub for the advancement of international law, to strengthen the rule of law, and to build capacity. Central to this mission is the unwavering promotion of human rights. As far as women's rights are concerned, our work is guided by a simple, powerful truth. Without justice for women, there can be no true justice. Without their full participation, there can be no sustainable peace or development. This seminar is not an isolated event. It is the third phase of our Institute's focused capacity building program, initiated in 2023 in order to celebrate the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. In November 2023, we deepened understanding of women's rights. In November 2024, we tackled the scourge of violence against women. Now, in 2025, we move decisively to the critical nexus of law and practice, to the frameworks that protect and the mechanisms that deliver. Our objective is practical and profound: to transform legal principles into tangible justice. We are here to bridge the gap between the robust standards of the African Union Maputo Protocol relating to the rights of women in Africa and the reality faced by women in our courtrooms and our communities. To our distinguished participants, judges, prosecutors, policymakers, academics, and civil society leaders, you are the catalysts of this change. Your expertise and commitment are the most critical resources we have. Over the next 5 days, we will equip ourselves with better tools, foster essential collaborations, and chart a clearer path forward. Let us use this time not only to reflect, but to resolve. Not only to learn, but to commit to action. I thank our dedicated partners, notably the Swiss Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs, for their invaluable support. And I thank each of you for your presence. I wish you a productive and impactful seminar. Thank you. The master of ceremony has taken perhaps a short leave, but I have to stand in for him in order to welcome Dr. Kajiru, representing the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the United Republic of Tanzania, to deliver her address. You're most welcome.
Thank you very much, Professor, for inviting me to take this opportunity to deliver the statements from the government of the United Republic of Tanzania. I'm standing before you representing the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation. And I'm here to represent my director, Dr. Gift Kweka, who was supposed to be here with you, but because of unforeseen circumstances, then she wouldn't make it. I would also take this opportunity to thank Law for inviting us to take part to this very important seminar on women across the African continent. Your Excellencies, Honorable Justice, judges, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a great honor and privilege for me to address this distinguished gathering on behalf of the government of the United Republic of Tanzania. Allow me at the outset to extend a warm welcome to all participants who have traveled different parts of Africa and beyond to join us here in Arusha, a seat known for its vibrant history, peace, and international cooperation. The government of United Republic of Tanzania is pleased to express its full for the work of the African Institute of International Law. Since its establishment, the African Institute of International Law has become an important pillar of legal scholarship and capacity building on our continent. Through its seminars, training programs, and research initiatives, it has consistently advanced dialogue on critical issues. Among them are the promotion and protection of women's rights and the strengthening of access to justice. We commend African Institute of International Law's expertise and professionalism in convening such a high-level forum that brings together judges, prosecutors, academics, policymakers, and civil society leaders. These gatherings are not only good for Africa, they are also good for Tanzania. They enrich our collective understanding of international law and African Union law, strengthen regional cooperation, and reaffirm Arusha's reputation as a center of Africa and global legal thought. The government of the United Republic of Tanzania remains deeply committed to advancing the rights of women and girls in accordance with our national constitutions and the international and regional instruments which we are parts, including the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discriminations Against Women, the CEDAW, and the Maputo Protocol. We recognize that the empowerment of women and their access to justice are essential to building a just, equitable, and prosperous society. The government continues to strengthen laws, institutions, and public policies that promote gender equality, combats gender-based violence, and expand opportunities for women in all spheres of life. As a government, we wish to encourage African Institute of International Laws to continue deploying its expertise and energy in these noble efforts. Your work is making a tangible contribution to the African Union's vision of an Africa anchored in good governance, human rights, and the rule of law. To all participants gathered here, judges, lawyers, prosecutors, scholars, and human rights defenders, I encourage you to actively engage in this seminar to share experiences and to challenge one another to find practical solutions that can transform the justice landscape for women across Africa. And to those who, like myself, representing their governments, I urge you to be influential voices when you return home, to ensure that the ideas and recommendations that emerge from this seminar find their way into national policies, institutional practices, and legislative reforms. Let me reaffirm that Tanzania stands ready to consider the recommendations that will emerge from this important gathering. We believe that these insights will contribute to strengthening not only national frameworks, but also our continental cooperation in ensuring that women's rights are protected and upheld everywhere in Africa. On behalf of the government of the United Republic of Tanzania, I wish each of you fruitful deliberations, meaningful exchange, and an enriching stay in our beautiful country. May this seminar mark another step, the strong step toward justice, equality, and dignity for all women in Africa. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Muito obrigada. Asanteni sana, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ines Kajiru, for the endorsement and the expressing the government commitment. I think we have to clap for her, please. So I wish now to invite Professor Matthias Senkuye to say some few words before inviting Madam Ambassador Irene Kasyanju. So, Professor Karibu.
Thank you. Thank you. It's not a few things. It's a lot about Her Excellency Ambassador Kasyanju. I earlier said that she is one of the founders of the African Institute of International Law. Behind that sentence, there is a lot that she did to take the African Institute or the establishment of the African Institute of International Law to the continental and universal level. The recognition by the African Union, the blessing by resolution of the General Assembly of the United Nations, we owe all that to Her Excellency Ambassador Kasyanju. And it is not only for the African Institute of International Law, it is for all these international organizations which are based here. She played the important basic role in the establishment of the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, the African Court on Human and People's Rights, and the African Union Anti-Corruption Board, and all these institutions. She is the person, the brain behind the Tanzania's involvement and acceptance and support for these institutions. And it is through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that we connect to institutions in Tanzania and outside of Tanzania. So we are deeply grateful for her role and for the role the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation plays for the betterment of the Institute's activities. And without much ado, I would like to call upon Her Excellency Ambassador Irene Kasianjo to deliver her address. You're most welcome.
Let me start by acknowledging the compliments made towards me by both Professor Matthias Sainkuye and Lady Justice Stella regarding my contributions to the work of this institute. Maybe I should give a little bit of a background briefly. The greater part of my contributions towards these institutions that are based in Arusha was when I was the Director for Legal Affairs in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the position that I served for about 10 years, 2005 to 2015, before I was appointed as Ambassador of Tanzania to the Kingdom of the Netherlands. So during that period, when these institutions were being settled down here in Arusha, and the role, one of the roles of the department, Directorate of Legal Affairs in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, were to look into the affairs of all the institutions that are based in Arusha. So I found myself dealing with these institutions directly, coming down to Arusha from Dar es Salaam, looking for offices, houses for the senior officials, for the principals of these institutions. So, and fortunately, these institutions were established almost at the same time, except for the court. I think the court was Arusha in 2006, all right. And then came the African Union Advisory Board on Corruption and African Institute of International Law between 2012 and 2014, thereabout. Of course, earlier we also had the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, which was also based here, and succeeded by a mechanism for international tribunals. So all these were the responsibilities of the Department of Legal Affairs in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and by then I was there. So this is how I came to be engaged with these institutions that are here, and maybe due to that background, I found myself again in the African Institute of International Law as member of the administrative committee. So thank you again for the compliment. I'm really humbled. I'm very happy to to receive those compliments and to understand, to know that, you know, my contribution was well received by the principals of these institutions that are based here in Arusha. Thank you. Now, going back to my opening remarks, Honorable Justices, Judges and Prosecutors, Excellency Ambassadors, representatives of regional and international organizations, esteemed scholars present here, members of the civil society, ladies and gentlemen, good morning once again. It is a privilege and profound honor to stand before you as I warmly welcome all participants to this important seminar here in Arusha, in the United Republic of Tanzania. We call it the judicial capital of Africa, home to the African Court. The Lady Justice is here, and the African Institute of International Law. Of course, Professor, you are also the founder of this institution. Yes, because I worked with you. I traveled from Dar es Salaam to come here to be with you. Yes, so you are also the founder. Your presence reflects not only your professional dedication, but also your personal commitment to building a continent where justice is accessible, equitable, and responsive to the needs of all women and girls. The promotion and protection of women's rights have a long and inspiring history, marked by courage, struggle, and steady progress. From the early days of independence movements, Africa women played an essential role in liberation, in peace building, in governance, and in the social transformation of their nations. Their leadership was often unrecorded, but were never absent. Yet, despite major advances from the adoption of the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, in 1979, to the Maputo Protocol in 2003, and the Agenda 2063 framework in 2015, the promise of equality remains unfulfilled. Across Africa, and indeed in Tanzania, many women still face serious barriers to justice. Cultural and institutional discrimination, gender-based violence, economic dependence, limited access to legal aid, and sometimes a justice system that feels distant or unaffordable. We must recognize the progress that has been made. Africa constitutions increasingly enshrine equality before the law. Gender-sensitive legislation has expanded. Women are now more visible in courts, in parliaments, and in the professions of law and governance. Tanzania, for its part, continues to strengthen its institutional and policy frameworks to protect women and promote their participation in all spheres of life. However, formidable challenges remain. Too often, survivors of gender-based violence are silenced by stigma or procedural obstacles. Too often, traditional and formal systems of justice operate in isolation instead of complementing each other. And too often, laws exist in books but not in practice, leaving women without the remedies and respect they deserve. In this context, institutions such as African Institute of International Law are not only relevant, they are indispensable. African Institute provides a continental platform where judges, prosecutors, academics, and policymakers can engage in informed dialogue, build capacity, and promote a shared legal culture grounded in human dignity and equality. By convening this seminar, the Institute is once again demonstrating its commitment to a more just Africa, one where women's rights are not a matter of rhetoric, but a reality, where access to justice is not a privilege, but a right, and where legal reform is not a distant ideal, but a living process of transformation. Allow me, therefore, to commend the Institute's leadership under the able guidance of Honorable Justice Fasta Ugegu and Professor Matthias Sahinkuye for the excellent organization of this event. I equally wish to acknowledge the generous support of our development partners, including the Swiss Federal Department of Foreign Affairs, whose consistent investment in human rights education continues to make such initiative possible. I also served in Geneva, in Switzerland, where I was also very much engaged with your ministry back then. That was between 1999 and 2005. So I really enjoyed staying and working together with your government. To all participants, judges, magistrates, prosecutors, lawyers, and civil society leaders, I express our profound appreciation for the distances you have traveled, the time you have set aside, and the expertise you bring. Your presence gives meaning and weight to this gathering. I am confident that the knowledge, experience, and passion in this room will lead to meaningful recommendations that advance gender equality and uphold the rights of women across our continent. Together we can build legal systems that ensure no woman is left behind. Let us remember that justice is not achieved through legislation alone. It requires strong institutions, trained gender-sensitive officials, adequate resources, and the removal of social and cultural barriers that silence women's voices. Importantly, it requires listening to the lived experiences of women and ensuring they inform our policies and practices. Let us ensure that outcomes of this seminar reaches all relevant stakeholders. This has already been alluded to by the previous speakers, not only as academic findings, but as actionable guidance to strengthen institutions, reform laws, and empower women to claim and enjoy their rights fully and equally. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, with these reflections and with full confidence in the commitment of all present, I now have the honor to declare the seminar on strengthening legal frameworks and access to justice for women in Africa officially open. May this week of dialogue be fruitful, inspiring, and transformative. I thank you very much for your kind attention. Asanteni sana. Asante, Professor.
Mike is not. This MC. Where are we going? Downstairs? I mean outside of the building? Yeah, so can we follow you? We will all go to the ground floor, from where we will be led to where the photo is going to be taken. Welcome.